Good afternoon, good evening, good morning to all our friends here in the States and around the world. It is another Friday afternoon with Greg and Art, host and Walters. We have John in as a guest. Today is the 11th of October. Boy, it's chugging through. So we were just talking a little bit about the end of the year stuff coming up, but quickly, it's a change in the season, the change in the temperature. Baseball season is coming to an end. Football is starting to kick in. Hockey just started last week. So it's that time of year where everything is just in some sort of flux of some sort, and throw in the election. So there's all sorts of goofy shit, or pardon my French, stuff going on. Art, how's it going in the wonderful world, your niche, your corner of the copier realm?
Glad to be home after a day in the field, and actually 2 days in the field. It's good to be home. Had a great meeting today
Excellent.
with a net new client, and the only thing I could say about that is things are looking good for a nice hit before the end of the year.
Ooh. Excellent.
I
That's
tell
always good.
everybody more, but I don't need to let the cat out of the bag.
It's
Right?
in flux. It's in flux. Yes.
Yes. It's not done until it's done.
And it's not. No, don't get me going. John, what's new with you? How's it going?
Things are going well. Things are going well. I got some closed deals. Got some
Oh,
nice hits with content. So yeah,
cool.
busy. Yes.
That's very good. Well, good. Well, this afternoon, I know I want to talk a little bit about sales and some salespeople. And I know Art, I want to hear what Art's got to say a little bit more specifically about something specific that happened in the industry. And then John, add some color to it and then tell us what you think and all that stuff. Art, take it away. What is this thing with Caton and company?
So, I had a lot of drive time yesterday, a lot of drive time today, although a lot of these thoughts came to me, during the last week and a half, just thinking out loud and trying to figure out why Caton did what they did, right? Why does a company like Caton take on an A3 MFP line when, especially in the U.S. marketplace? I don't know if they're going to be global on that, but at least within the U.S. marketplace,
Sure.
where
Art, maybe explain what happened. What did they do?
So Caton partnered with Fuji to take on their line of A3 MFPs and rebrand them as Caton devices.
Okay.
I think they're branding it as Aviva, if I'm pronouncing that right.
Okay. All right.
So that's what happened. That happened about 3 weeks in a press release.
Okay, so effectively, Caton, which was and is typically known as a supplies and service component,
supplies, service components,
right?
Toners, developers,
Stuff like that.
Yeah, things like that. Right.
And they've decided to bring to market a full machine or a line of devices that are Fuji's, but they're
A3.
bringing it into the A3s into the market as something new. Okay, cool. All right.
Right. So go from there. So the question, like I said before, becomes why?
Yeah, right? That's a good question. Yeah.
Pages are declining. Saturated market for distribution, and they did have I think Andy did a show recently where he was on with the marketing people of Caton.
Okay.
And they explained why they did what they did. But, when marketing people speak, that's always the spin, right? It's their spin, right?
Yep.
So their spin isn't always, I don't know, how am I going to put this politely? Let me put it this way, it's what they want others to hear about it. But, you got to think a little bit deeper on this, right? So Ray had his own segment on this, and Ray thought about, maybe it's more about KM. Maybe it's more about Caton and KM or something to that effect. And at least he's got his own opinion on
Right.
that,
Yeah.
rather than just hearing what the spin is from the Caton or the manufacturing. I'm not saying their spin is good or bad. I really haven't listened to it, but
Right.
I'm trying to read between the lines about why they did what they did, right? So we're all focused, dealers are focused on profit margin. Everybody's focused on profit margin. Profit margin is extremely important, right? So what if a company like Caton, we know they took on the Fuji machines, but what if they went to Fuji and said, hey, Fuji, we know you want to enter the US marketplace because that's been known for a couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
What if we help you out? What if you sell us your boxes with the condition that all of the consumables and parts come from Caton? Would you sell us those boxes? Okay, well, what if Fuji said, yes, we will, right? Fuji has always been known as, if dealers want to increase their profit margin, they go to a generic toner, a generic developer, generic drums,
Right.
generic fusers, generic lamps, right?
Right.
So what if Fuji comes out and says, okay, well, if we take on these machines and we use all of our consumables, A, we could get a better markup, or B, maybe we can sell even more products at a lower markup. So that's the whole thing about increase your sales, but have a little bit lower of a markup, where you
Right.
end up that you increase the pot. You increase the pie by not only having higher revenue, but having higher margins because you're selling more revenue, right?
Right. Okay.
Right. So dealers, and I'm not going to name any dealers, but to me, the low-hanging fruit right here, even though what Fuji said about why they wanted to do this, the low-hanging fruit to me is a lot of the Xerox dealers. The Xerox dealers, right, they don't buy from Xerox. They buy from distributors. They buy their hardware from distributors like Cynix, or there was a couple other mentioned out there that I just don't have the names off the top of my head. And they buy their supplies from Cynix or suppliers like that. So what the dealer is saying is they're paying for the markup from Xerox to Cynix, and they're paying for the markup from Cynix to, right, the dealer. So they've almost got a double whammy on their stuff. So what if Caton, and there's going to be salespeople out there that are always going to look for the lowest hanging fruit, right? And they go to those dealers and they say, hey, why are you spending all this money with Xerox, right? You can spend the same amount of money with us, but you can make the same amount of margins on your supplies, right? You can make the same amount of margin on your aftermarket, all right?
Mm-hmm.
But you're going to increase your profits. So I probably didn't state that right.
Well, let me see. Let me see if I can understand. So, all right, two things that comes to mind. All right, first thing, we'll come back to it in my head. So what, if I'm a dealer, I'm selling multiple lines. I've got another line who's coming in. All right, first off, I'm thinking they're crazy, right? But I'm going to listen. I'm going to listen. All right. If I'm more aware than I was 10 years ago or 5 years ago or 3 years ago, I'm going to know that we've all talked about the commoditization of the hardware, right? And it really, if anything now is displaying that, it's a copier is a copier is a copier is a copier is a copier.
Correct.
There are fewer of them being sold, right? So the margin you could get from, say, and I'm just throwing these names out because this is where, Canons are more expensive than linears. All right. The margins are higher in a Canon than it is in a linear or whatever back in the older days. That's an example, right? So now I've got ABC Fuji coming in saying, hey, the sales price can be lower to your customers. B, the margins will be higher to you because for whatever reason, right? And then on the backside, the aftermarket stuff is going to be like getting the clone the pricing of a cloned or a refurbed for a quote, and I mean quote OEM type toner cartridge because it comes from those guys. All right. So in theory, you can catch margin on the actual hardware and then through the aftermarket, basically because we're going direct, which is one part of it, and the devices are going to be cheaper anyway, right? Manufacturing costs, whatever. They're going to come in less expensive. The challenge I see with one, and you can probably answer this, I believe that the Xerox dealers, now familiarize me, didn't Xerox buy a bunch of dealers? And aren't they? They're not independents, are they?
So
They're Xerox dealers.
There's global dealers out
Global.
there.
That's right. That's right. Global.
Yeah, and I don't know if they buy directly from Xerox or if they buy from the distributor too.
As far as I know, they are calling themselves Xerox. So, at the dealer level, we're a Xerox dealer, we're ABC or whatever, but we're Xerox. So we're owned by Xerox. So there may be some constraints in that side.
But there's other independents out there.
Yeah.
And we know a few of them who are resell and service and support the Xerox machines, but they buy through distributors.
So in theory, I mean, if I were, say, a micro dealer right now, and I'm trying to, again, just numbers, I'm trying to sell 10 boxes a month, right? That's where I got to get my nut covered or whatever that is, right? And if I can sell 10 Xeroxes or 10 Ricos, I'll get 22 points. And I'm just shooting the thing here. If I pick up Fuji, it might go up to 32 points, right? So, and I know that my customer base is dropping, and maybe I can get the same nut covered for 8 machines per month selling Fujis or whatever versus Xerox, right? Because the number of machines being sold in theory or in practice is lower than it was 3 or 4 years ago, months ago, whatever. So does that line of logic make sense in a global, not global, but in a universal sense? What do you think, John? What? Give me your take on that.
Yeah, that's a good question. And one that I'm not sure of. I'm looking at these machines, and it says Caton on the label. I have the site up here in front of me.
Oh, okay.
And boy, they remind me a lot of the machines with the exit on the right side.
Oh yeah.
So are these Fuji made these Xerox devices, correct? And they split, right, Art? That was a couple of years ago, right?
So their contract, they had an ongoing contract between Fuji and Xerox, and I don't know what the initial agreement I think they dissolved the agreement, the partnership. Okay. However, Xerox is still buying the Fuji branded MFPs.
Gotcha. Okay. So essentially you have another, and correct me if I'm wrong, Fuji is selling Fuji is selling these as Fuji boxes. Caton is now selling them as Caton boxes.
Well, Fuji entered into an agreement with Marco.
Oh.
But I don't know if that was just for Fuji production or if it was for the entire Fuji line.
Interesting. Okay.
Right.
Interesting. Okay.
So for a couple of years, Fuji has wanted a beachhead in the U.S. Within the last 3 months, the beachhead has come to fruition.
So, and that's through Marco, number one, as a national dealer,
and Caton.
And Caton, number 2.
Correct.
Oh.
So in my mind, and I've been in this industry for a long time, but almost all years on the service side. But in my mind, a company, a manufacturer, wants, the reason they're putting out these boxes, these MFPs, is so they can sell toner.
That's correct.
Right? I mean, toner is the profitability, right?
Yes. Yes.
That's the goal.
The parts.
Right. Right. Those are the razor blades that people are buying because you're giving them the razor, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So how does a company like Fuji, why would they want to partner with Caton, as Caton would be the number one, I would say, detriment
Well, mhm.
to
Good,
supply
good,
profitability?
good question. But the Fuji already has a tremendous global marketplace. Some companies just look to keep the factories running, right?
Okay.
Right? They want to keep the factories running. They want the beachhead in the U.S. marketplace. But
Mhm.
what happens in 2 years or 3 years from now, nobody knows, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Um, um, but I know, and others know they wanted that part of that U.S. marketplace. All depends on how they went about and did it. But I'm looking at the reasons why Caton did what they did.
Hmm.
One of my biggest things about this, what I see, is that you can go to a deal. If I'm selling Caton MFPs and I see a Xerox dealer,
Hmm.
I can say, why are you doing business with them? And you can do business with me, and you can get greater margins, right? On the consumables. So if your
Hmm.
profit level is 52%, maybe we can get you to 70%,
Hmm.
right?
Okay.
We're not going to tie you into quotas, right?
Well, no, they
Right?
won't. Not yet.
Correct. And I'm going to help increase the amount of business you win. Well, how are you going to do that? Well, think about this. Our consumables are 20 to 30% less than what you're paying cynics right now. So wouldn't you be able to lower a 20 to 30% on your bids, on your cost per pages, on your bids, and still maintain the same amount of margin that you've been making?
Hmm. Hmm. Interesting.
This makes sense to me. And again, these are just my thoughts. I'm going to look at this at a different level, right? I'm not going to look at this the level where Ray looks at it, because Ray going to look at it, at 30,000 feet and see who owns who and what, because he's not a street person. He doesn't understand, the percentage of profits, the sales, that whole sales process, bids, cost per page, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
When you look at, some of the other sites out there, they basically, how can I say, they don't challenge the spin from the manufacturer. Now, I'm not challenging the spin, but what I'm saying is this makes a whole lot of sense to me why they would do something in this, in a market that's already saturated, and in a market where pages are coming down, not up. Right? So
Mhm.
I'm that salesperson for Caton. I'm going to play the salesperson role. I'm going to start attacking the low-hanging fruit in my geo area, because I need to make money. I'm going to get paid commissions. They're just going to give me a flat salary and say, well, go try and sign somebody up. They're going to give you a commission based on your revenue, what you can garner for them. So I'm going to attack all that low-hanging fruit. And to me, the low-hanging fruit is the Xerox dealers that do business with the distributors.
You guys you both touched on the output comes out of the right hand side? Is that it's different than other folks,
Yeah,
right?
it's the only one. It's the
But
only one.
and that's a Fuji engine thing, correct?
Yes.
That has
Okay.
always been a Xerox
Well,
thing.
a Xerox, but the Fuji
And
engine's inside the Xeroxes, right? Or am I
somebody
John,
told
okay?
me it's because Xerox was an American company, and which is unusual in the copier industry.
Okay.
And
Yeah, yeah.
because we read left to right,
you are correct.
it's
And
they figured that it should come out on the right side. That's what I heard. Is that right, Art?
yes,
I love it. True or not, I love the
yes,
story.
yes. And the Japanese reverse.
That's true.
Oh, that's cool. All
Yeah.
right. All right, so I like that
There's
you brought the
little
field,
tidbits of information you
little
get.
tidbits. I love it. So if I'm a copier rep, right, and I've got something that I could sell that is quote just as good. We haven't covered that yet, but less lower cost to my customers, but maintaining my margin, which is, I'm not going to sell something cheaper if it, goes from 15 to 3 points. That's not going to happen. But if I can sell something, this reminds me of any type of new copier that got in the olden days. I mean, from the Panasonics to Kikoserias, when they first came in to Icon, they were the cheapest,
Yeah.
right? They were.
Yeah. Think of it this way: if you can keep your margin level for
Oh,
the machine at the same price, but if you can offer that total cost of operation, and the total
yeah.
cost of operation is how many pages are you going to make over 5 years, and what is that cost per page going to be? If dealers are going to be aggressive, they can say, okay, I've got a 20% plus now if I take on the Caton devices.
Right.
So what can I do? I can either make 20% more in points, or I can be aggressive and I can say, okay, well, we're going to give, we're going to give an additional discount for net new business, or
Right.
we're
Right.
going to give an
Yeah.
additional discount on your cost per page if you buy 5 machines or more for us,
Yeah.
or bids, right? Those
Bids.
bids that I've been losing.
Yep.
Hey, I might be able to win some of them now.
Do you think you can make the argument that this is the same as a Xerox?
Absolutely. So what's going to be different is the GUI is going to be different, which
Well,
is
yes, they're
right,
different in all
right,
of them. Yeah,
right, and a lot of the different third-party solutions will differ,
that's true
right?
too. But now that's an interesting thing, and I don't know. I haven't heard anything about that. All right, I'm thinking of it more of a commodity. It's a machine that does machine stuff. There's nothing beyond that. Art, have you heard anything? I mean, scan the file, anything
Oh yeah,
basic
they all
like
do.
that?
Well,
I don't
they're
know.
all going to do scan the folder,
All
scan the
right,
files,
all
and go to
right.
USB. But it's the third-party solutions that John gets involved with. Is it going to work with PaperCut? Is it
Nobody
going to
uses those.
is it going to work with it, is it going to integrate with SharePoint? Is it going to
Yes.
integrate with their own cloud services? Do they have their own cloud services? Will they offer a new cloud services? Will they offer something unique and different?
I gotta believe they've got nothing on those fronts yet, right? I mean, I can't
No,
believe.
no, no. Actually, there was a press release this week about
Really.
third-party solutions they've come out with.
That's an interesting horizon to look at. I mean, what is the operating system down there? What are their components and their chips? What are they doing? I mean, remember the old Windows 95 or whatever those operating systems used to be on? What am I thinking of? Oh, I'm thinking of Edgeline.
That's a good question. I would guess these days most operating systems on copiers are some form or flavor of Linux.
Yeah, Linux. Okay.
Um, and then the displays. I mean, some manufacturers are web based. Everything is
Yeah.
through web interface. The connectivity and stuff like that. Some are thick apps that sit on a MFP that run on that operating system, and they are able to kind of work on their own. And there's variations of those in between. So I just happen to be on I'm on PaperCut.
Mhm.
So they have a formerly known as Fuji Xerox, but then they also have, let me see, I see a Xerox. I don't see Fuji by itself, and I don't see um Lex
Peyton, whatever
Peyton
they're
by
called.
itself.
What are
Yeah.
they called? Ezra's?
Uh, of
Oh, now
Avia?
I do see
Aviva,
Fujifilm Business Innovation. Is that what the new Fuji
yeah,
devices are called?
FBI. Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
really?
So
Yeah.
those, yeah. So PaperCut is probably the number one application across manufacturers. It's the most popular that the manufacturers want to work with.
Yep.
And they're here. It's Fujifilm's already here. I can't imagine Caton would be too far behind.
Well, it probably is already there. I just thought of that, right? So they've already had the Fuji when Fuji was Fuji, and Fuji now is still Fuji, but coming through Caton. So I imagine that's not going to change anything. Interesting. And then Marco picked them up. So I remember back Icon used. I think it was Art. You brought this up. Why not label it your own? That's what I was. You know?
Over a year ago, I thought that some of the megas
Yeah.
would take on the Fuji product, but they would private label it. So either Marco, Pacific Office Automation. What's the big Rico dealer in the South?
Dex.
Not Dex could be one of them, but there's another one, bigger Rico dealer, I think out of Tennessee, Novatech, or it could be there's another one, but I'm forgetting about
All right.
it.
Yeah.
But what happened was, as you see, Caton grabbed it
Yeah.
and private labeled it.
Capon. Yeah.
So here's something on a press release
Interesting.
this week about FBI. You were talking about solutions. 2 applications for multifunctional printers are installed as standard. Scan Delivery Lite, which improves efficiency of frequently used scanning operations, and a
Oh.
paperless fax delivery. Of course, we know what that is, designed for digitizing, automatically sorting forward received faxes. See if there's anything else in here for solutions.
Yeah, I don't see anything about third-party solutions on Caton's website. I mean, it talks about what they do is, convert hard copy to digital data,
Right.
safe and reliable, all the security things that all devices have now. Scan function. They have some impressive specs on their feeders, their document feeders.
Oh, really? How many can go in there?
250, and this is on a 45-page a minute color machine. 250
Oh, here we go.
capacity, 135 images per minute single side, and 270 per minute duplex.
Right. So here's something on the other site. Linked cloud services as of October 2024. Kintone, DocuSign e-signature, Box, Microsoft 365, OneDrive for Business, Exchange Online, SharePoint Online, Google Drive, Dropbox, Salesforce, Abby, Dokme, Dokmee, Esker, Kofax M Files, and UniPath.
Oh.
So that's a lot of ammunition for you, John.
That is.
Right.
We'll see. I don't know. I don't know how hard it's going to be for. I mean, when was the last time a really new brand launched for copiers?
It wasn't Kyocera. It was Samsung.
Samsung was
Samsung.
Yeah, that's right.
Yep.
Remember? Yeah.
And before that, it was CopyStar.
Okay. But how long ago was that? CopyStar was
20, 30 years.
Yeah.
Well,
Samsung was probably
Panasonic might have been after that.
Panasonic was before. I mean, the last one was Samsung because I was at the Samsung rollout.
Panasonic
I remember
was in the 90s.
Yeah, Panasonic. I don't know where CopyStar came from. I don't even remember that. Wasn't that a Lanier product?
No,
or not?
that was Kyocera.
That was a Kyocera. Okay, so they came in, and I was still at Icon, so that's 2006,
right?
5 somewhere.
Samsung was later, but I think that was about the last one. My point was how much market penetration did they get? How much was left for them?
Well,
they got bought.
They got bought.
Well, no. They sold.
Well, when you sell something, somebody else buys it, right?
That's true.
Anyway.
But that's because they didn't have that much market share. I mean,
it
didn't take off.
When they first started, I saw a lot of dealers that took on that product, and
it was low.
I lost to a lot on that product. And as you know, the first Samsung started out in the distribution channel. They did not start out with dealers. They opened them up to the distribution channel, and through distributors, you could buy their A4s. They started with their A4 devices, and then they got into dealers with their A3 devices.
Their U.S. president was the old Icon guy. So he went from Icon to Samsung.
Right.
I think, and then they were bought. Icon was bought by Ryco or whatever. Anyway, yeah, and the only thing that was wrong with not the only one of the things that was wrong with Samsung, and that's why I keep going back to, if these Fujis, whatever, the machine's got to work, right? It's got to work. We assume it does. The last time I made that assumption was the Samsungs, and they did. There were things that were challenging on the hardware side, crooked still output. Service side was difficult to get into the box physically. So there were some weird kind of goofy things.
Their claim to fame, though, was less moving parts.
Yeah,
if
hopefully. Thank goodness.
Somebody who was always chiming about less moving parts.
Well, anyway, yeah. I mean, either way, as long as my point is, if the Catons work, then that's a checkbox. Then that's fine.
And they're going to work.
Right. I think so. Right.
Right. So my thought is
interesting
with dealer, who is the low-hanging fruit, right?
Well, I mean, on the dealer side, what kind of providers?
To me, low-hanging fruit for Caton is any dealer that is buying from a distributor, whatever product it may be.
Okay, that gets you probably on the phone with the guy.
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
Okay. Keep going.
So if you're a Canon dealer, but a so-called Canon dealer, but you're only allowed to get their A3 devices, but they've got a special, either you buy from the distributor or you can buy from us, but it's not going to be your regular office equipment type of deal, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's
I think the low-hanging fruit in this case would be dealers that don't perceive themselves as premium. All right.
Let me ask you, can you classify your dealer as premium if you don't?
Yeah.
If you don't buy from Xerox?
Yeah. I mean, I would, and it depends, right? I mean, most of these, it's all ego. It's not real. But if I'm a Canon dealer in the old days, man, I sell Canons. I don't sell Kyocera's. Those are cheap. Yeah, you're going to pay more for my Canon, but it's better than all of them out there. Mm-hmm. So if you want the best, go with me. If you don't, then, John's copier store down the corner's got everything under the sun.
So what happens? What happens to the first decent-sized dealer that loses a bid to a Caton branded product?
Well, then it'll change
because of cost per page.
Yep. Well, that's okay. That's a little different. It's B2B versus bid work. Bid work is different.
So I understand, but it all comes down. It's going to come down to machine cost and consumable costs. Right?
But I'm going to say this again. If I'm an Impact and I lose a deal because of price, so be it. Right? They're going to say, so be it. Whatever. I'm not going to go below 25 points on any of my bids, which is dumb, but let's say that.
But if the company's got an advantage, they've got a clear advantage over you. Manufacturers will reduce their price on hardware to help you win a bid. They will not. They will not reduce consumables or your service because your consumables or your service is yours. So it depends on that dealer as to what they would like to win or lose.
Mm-hmm.
And if a manufacturer is giving me 20 points less on consumables, I've got a distinct advantage in that bid space.
Right.
That's true.
On the pricing, which is fine. That's okay.
Well, and bid space always comes down to pricing.
Right. On RFPs and things like that, that's fine. Again, I'd say they're going to have divisions that work or departments that work at that level, and they're going to know at least the premium ones, dude. So I'm saying the I don't want to say low hanging fruit, the most opportune segment of the channel to go after, in my opinion, would be, the 1 to 5 million, the 5 to 10, 15 to 20 million dollar dealerships, 5 reps, and may do local school district bids and local government, but small sled accounts, up to the university. I don't, sometimes universities are different. Federal would be a whole nother ball of wax, but it's utilities, public utilities, water districts, nonprofits, churches, oh my gosh, religion, things like that. They drive just on price. So I would go after those guys in a heartbeat. So I don't know. Do you know, Art, how are they trying to engage the dealer channel? Do you know? Is there a sales force in the field?
No, I didn't listen to it.
Yeah, I didn't. I
But
haven't heard.
from what I heard from somebody else,
Okay.
it's traditional.
Hmm.
The way
So
the copier industry has been doing it all the time.
yeah. Well,
Look for value dealers. Dealers.
Well, I mean,
course,
the feet on the ground. Do you know how that structure is? How they're going to market? Is it all going through Caton? Are they putting reps on, dividing the country up and putting reps out, or
that I don't know.
I don't know.
But
That's
that would be the way to do it.
yeah. It'd be interesting to see.
Yeah.
I don't know. Well, anyway, so yeah, that's a interesting turn. Again, it's like, wow, they're actually getting into the industry, which is kind of funny, right? Because Fuji's always been in the industry.
That's correct. That's correct. So, a lot of people, when they talk about the market and they think about the market, especially many of us here in the US, they look at, they're only aware of the US market space. They're not
Right.
aware of the global marketplace and what all these other companies are doing in Asia, Europe, Africa. What's their margins in different areas of the globe, right? And just because you're number one or two here in the US doesn't mean you're number one or two in Africa or
Right.
in India or in China or in the South Pacific, Oceania, right? So
Absolutely.
the odds of us still seeing a major manufacturer drop from the global industry is a very small percentage, extremely small. Because even though the pages are dropping, let's say they drop 7% a year, we're talking trillions of pages printed a year. The market is still tremendous, right? So my end thoughts on this. What manufacturer is susceptible to losing the most, right? Just in the A3 marketplace, right?
Yeah.
And like I said before, if I was a Caton rep and I was charged with going out and getting business and driving business, my first point of attack is going to be those Xerox dealers who are doing business with distributors.
Or really any copier companies doing, because they typically wouldn't be necessarily authorized to sell. I mean, they were getting
good point.
Third party. They would be getting toner third party anyway. Why not?
But the Xerox dealers are getting the branded stuff already. They're paying a premium for the branded stuff. So, I mean, I wouldn't want to look at an independent that's all using generic cartridges and generic toners and everything already, because there's not going to be no value for me to talk to them or them to talk to me.
Do you think in this honeymoon period, Caton's going to be throwing a lot of money around at these dealers?
They should.
Right? I mean, get them hooked, get them using.
That would have been an agreement I would have had between Caton and Fuji's. All right, we'll do this. You're going to kick down some MDF funds.
I would think that would be really important to start essentially a whole new product line. If in name only.
Yeah. So I'm not saying, what I think is happening, but I think it for someone like me, it makes a whole hell of a lot of sense. Why it happened. But again, there could be reasons that I don't know about, but I kind of thought it out and think that this could be one of those reasons.
Well, what I'm thinking is, if it's an MPS engagement, right? An old or a new MPS where you're trying to replace the fleet or inject new machines. If you play it from the very beginning, is it that the brand, the label on the machine doesn't make a difference anyway, but we're going to, the old, same old, you've got, 3 people sharing a machine when 10 could, or 15 or whatever it is. The replacement of the device is just that. It's just a replacement of the device. It's not a replacement of an, Xerox with an HP or a Ricoh. If you don't play that, it's just, do it that way, as opposed to still on the savings and the impact of the program, not the label and all that stuff, because they're all the same. That's the way I would do it.
Right.
Interesting.
So in the long run, I believe there's, some manufacturers out there that are should worry a little bit about what Caton's doing, or whether they are doing it the way I think they might be doing it, or their way. I'm sure there's going to be an advantage. They've got to have a value proposition advantage to dealers as to why they did this.
Yeah, domestically. Okay. So stay out of the Fortune 500s, stay out of the Fortune 1500s, stay in that range. And I know Xerox is trying, everyone else is going into light production and production anyway, because that's where the quote growth is. I don't know. I haven't looked at it strong enough to see, because I got to believe that Xerox's install base is huge here domestically. I know globally, if you're going to do anything globally, it's going to have to be Xerox and HP, a Ricoh, or a Canon. It's going to have to be one of those, and then you can even filter that out.
There's also thoughts that Xerox is weaning itself down from MFPs.
Yep. That would not surprise me at all. All right. Very cool.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think, again, the addition of Marco, the addition of Caton, who knows what's going to drop in the near future, if anything else drops with this. But I think it's for Caton, somebody who has relied on consumables and the parts industry for years and years. They are protecting their own business with their own line of MFPs, and could possibly garner a hell of a lot more business if they look at different places where they can win.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Interesting. Very interesting. Well, that's a good subject. We haven't got much time left, but I have to bring this up, see what you guys think. Anything new on the artificial intelligence front? Have you heard anything in your world, in your day-to-day world? That's what actually, yes, I'm curious. If nothing, that's fine, but go ahead.
There was an article. Let me find it.
Okay.
Art, have you heard anything about
AI?
Yeah.
There's some recent articles.
So nothing hits you guys in the forehead over the week, though. So it's not something that's on the top of your stack.
Okay. No, not on top of my stack, but a lot of stuff.
I did watch a YouTube video about installing an AI large language model on a Raspberry Pi, which I'm going to try doing this weekend. Just to do it.
On a Raspberry Pi?
Yeah. They're computers on a board, basically. They're about this big.
Okay.
And real cheap, and it's just for playing around with experiments and stuff like that. And they've gotten the language models down in size that you can fit them inside. I got a 4 gig or an 8 gig Raspberry Pi that should easily fit one of the smaller of the large language models. And just play with it. I mean, in the video, they ask it to summarize the themes of Little Red Riding Hood, and it did.
And it did all on the Pi. Was the data
low?
Yeah.
It was very slow, but yeah, it was all contained in the downloads.
Ooh.
Yeah. So I mean, what struck me is we can
Ooh.
make that now more personal and not have to worry about, where is my data going? I'm keeping it in house. How's that? I don't know.
No, that's exactly right. So it's the old edge model versus it's the old
Yes.
file server in the closet model. If you really get down to it,
Exactly.
that's what it is.
Exactly. Yes.
So yeah, I mean,
Oh.
here's my latest thing is that it's the death of the salesperson. But I mean, that's a big one. But in the last 2 weeks, I mean, I've been hearing a lot. Again, this is at enterprise and at the higher quote unquote hires, but we're talking numbers. I think we might have talked about it last week, Art, where Philippines is laying off thousands of phone service desk operators.
Yes, yes.
All right,
Mhm.
and I just downloaded the voice model out of LLM, OpenAI,
Right,
and it's scary good. And I know that is the
right.
cheapest, easiest one to do. There's also that, and I hate Google, but they have this new thing out that converts your written content into a podcast. All right. Now, so at first you're thinking, whatever, it's just going to transcribe the written word into, it's just going to be like regurgitating and reading it off. It is not that. The podcast, I've done 3 of them so far. There are 2 voices on the podcast, and they are talking to each other about whatever content you give it. And it gleans information out of that content, refers to it or doesn't refer to it, and talks about it, and comes to the end. The end of the messaging of the podcast is the messaging of the articles you put into it.
Is there a
So
certain app for that, or?
yeah, it's free. Google Notebook LM, I think is what it's called. Notebook LM. So I did one from the imaging channel, one of my articles for the imaging channel, and it was about scanning. All right. So it was about new to copier sales is scanning making a resurgence, I think was the headline I used. So I took that article, threw it at those guys to see what it would come up with. And at first I was like, whoa, this is not what I expected it just to be like a recording, right? Just reading it off. But no, there's 2 voices interacting about this article.
Interesting.
It's really interesting.
I'm gonna have a lot of fun with this. I can see it already. I'm on it. I'm gonna have so much fun with this.
I don't have enough time.
I'm gonna go back to blogs I wrote 20 years ago.
Exactly, dude. I mean, I'm serious.
Absolutely.
Do one real simple. Get you dip your toe and see what you get out of it.
Oh,
and I would tell you this: you have to listen to it because it's just like any LLM. It's going to make assumptions, right? And you don't have as much control over this as you do over an LLM and a prompt. You're just giving it the content, and it's taking it and making some leaps of faith. It's been 98% correct. And I might have had to pull something because it said so and so said this when they never really said that. Right. But I look back at the article, and if you read my article, you could have interpreted that as that person did say it. So you had to revamp the article, throw it through again.
Right. But if I wrote it, there should be no conflictions.
I mean, I forget which one I've got. It quotes my name. It talks about how Greg Walters wrote this article, and they're laughing about, well, like scanning is a deal. Do you ever think about it? It goes, no. Who thinks, these 2 people talking to each other? It goes, no, I never think about it. And then boom, well, maybe you should. Boom, 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 boom.
Interesting. So everybody has Notebook LM. I'm going to give it a shot. Hey, one other thing, when you talk about, different AI and different applications, I did speak to Kevin Neal this week, and they're going to actually have some interesting items at the developers show in Tampa in 3 weeks for the Twain.
Yeah, is that in 3 weeks?
Yeah. Yeah, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, something like that. Yeah, yeah. November 13th through the 15th.
All right. So they've got some things. Wait, Twain has got.
It's a developers day where all developers are working on different open source scanning.
And they're throwing AI in there. Is that what
tools.
You said? Well, we'll see.
Well, developers would, right?
Well, the LLMs will get rid of salespeople and programmers, probably programmers first. Stuff I'm seeing is absolutely incredible. Did you guys see any? You probably didn't. It came out like 9 hours ago. The videos from the Musk thing yesterday,
No.
where he
His
introduced
taxi,
his bus, but the androids. They
I
didn't
saw
catch
pictures
the
of the androids,
headline.
but didn't.
These androids are walking through the crowd holding conversations. The androids are serving the drinks.
Huh.
You go up and say, "Hey, I want an orange, whatever, whatever." Okay, here you go. How's it going? How's your day going? The android.
I didn't know we had androids yet.
That's amazing.
9 hours. This came out 9 hours ago, so it's like, and you're gonna see. It's gonna next week or so. It's gonna flood the socials. But these things aren't guys dressed in android look. What is Optimus? His robot is called Optimus. When the guy walks up to the bar and says, "I'll take the orange one," and the android is there, holds the tap, holds the glass underneath it, fills it up, and then hands it to him and talks to him about it.
Only
That's one thing.
$30,000.
Yep, 25 to 30 grand. That's today.
That's $600 a month.
Today.
That's
Today.
nothing. That's nothing. Hey,
It's only going to come down.
So let's go back to
Oh my God.
let's go back to something I mentioned years ago, that the future of the copier industry is for planned obsolescence in robotics.
Well, yes, Art, and we've had
Who is
this
going to
discussion.
who's going to make a robot that's going to last forever?
Good point.
No, it's going to happen. They won't look like what they look like now, because on the other side of the coin that's going on deep down is the thing that's holding robots back is the mechanics, the mechanicals. They're going to be biological.
Well, yeah, in the next 100 years.
No, not in the next 100 years.
I don't know.
They've got the skin already. They're doing. I mean, this stuff is not slowing down. This isn't the 1970s. I know. But a year ago, we didn't think we'd have robots walking through a crowd, having conversations with a crowd, no matter what the subject was, no matter what.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive.
There's no nested if loops. These aren't like a single dimensional. If he says this, say this. It's dude. It's scary. It is not. I mean, for us, can you imagine the kids that are coming up right now? Yeah, whatever. It's just like C3PO. I mean, it literally is just like C3PO.
Yeah.
So,
amazing.
I mean, I'm in awe, but the other people, whatever. Okay.
I'm looking at it right now.
Art, I just sent you an email I found in, I don't know if do you subscribe to Implant Impressions?
No, I don't.
It's a printing, industrial and commercial printing email magazine.
Right.
Anyway, they Astonished by AI this just came out, was a symposium by a copier dealer.
Oh, really?
That talks specifically about how AI works in implant printing, print shops, pay for prints.
I think I read that or heard something about that.
It's pretty impressive. So I don't know, just it's out there, and they're using it. They're using it for email campaigns. They put together used AI to create a personalized credit card direct mail campaign in a matter of seconds, and generated all the graphics via AI.
Think about that statement. What you just said.
It's unreal.
That's an advertisement agency. That's a department. That's a graphics department. That's 3 creatives. That's content generators. That's copywriters. That's billable time, billable hours. Gone. It's what's happening. And so when I hear the next 5 or 10 years about anything right now, it's like, no, 18 months ago we didn't see this coming. Somebody did. So 18 months from now, that robot that walks through the crowd is going to look 10 times differently and act 100 times better. whatever that is. I have no clue. And then you're saying, who's going to fix the robots? And what do I usually say, Art? The robots will fix the robots.
In the end,
I know.
you are correct. The robots
I
will
know.
fix the robots. But that can't mean that that a company like I don't know, Strategic
I don't know.
Systems will be the next purveyor of selling robots. I mean,
Well, that I can see.
them. They're not
No,
going to be born.
maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. I mean, if I want a robot, I can just call another robot who would tell me about the robots and then send a robot to deliver the robot so that the robot would start. And if the robot gets, a broken finger, another robot doctor can come out and fix that finger.
In the long,
It's not going to take that long.
That will probably be where it is. But hey, I understand it's moving faster than ever.
Well, for us, it's fine. I don't know. We'll be able to survive. And when I say us, anyone who's cognizant right now is okay. Something's going to happen. Someone said the other day it's going to eliminate 87 million jobs, but it's also going to create 98 million. So I don't know what that means. I mean, who the hell can say that right now?
Yeah.
Who knows? I mean, just, the people who used to shoe horses found another job doing something. But now this is impacting everything.
The human race is amazing.
Yeah, we'll be fine.
We adapt, we change, right?
We'll be fine.
Yeah. It's the future. The future is yet to come.
Yeah. Anyway. All right. Well, I thought I'd just throw that at you guys. Thanks.
Well, thanks for that tidbit of information. And I probably won't be able to get to sleep over it tonight.
No, don't lose sleep over
it. God, robots fixing robots and robots being born. And anyway, I'd like to thank everybody for tuning in.
Good job.
I'd like to always thank Greg, our wonderful host who kicks off these amazing talk chats. People like John DiCarlo who get on and put his 2 cents in and his insight. And we invite everybody back next week. We're always looking for new guests. And please like, follow, and share. And always keep in mind, we're always looking for that special advertiser so we can help you out.
Yep, absolutely. Thanks, Art. Thanks, guys.